Hello Rebrand gang, and welcome to episode 53 of Rebrand Everything, the weekly graphic design show where we redesign the logo of big or famous companies. This week we're going to be redesigning the Reebok logo. Let's get into it. So I'm pretty sure that you already know that Reebok is a sportswear company. They were founded in the UK in 1958, but after that it all gets a little bit confusing because in 2005 they were bought by Adidas, which is a German company, but their headquarters is in the USA, making it an American company as well. They have had loads of logos over the years, but the key changes we're going to focus on in the video are as follows. This is their logo between 1993 and 1997. Then they changed it to this in 2014. But then in 2019, they're claiming these nostalgia vibes by changing their logo to this. So let's have a close look at this latest logo. I always thought that the icon that they used looked like some sort of symbol for a road or a highway maintenance company more than a sports brand. This logo also uses this super old school style font, which whilst might feel quite cool now, it really puts a date on the design, which I feel might end up feeling less retro cool and more old and outdated very soon. Especially as clothing trends seem to come in and out of fashion so quickly. To my eyes, the icon is very weirdly positioned with the text. I can see why it's been done like that, as the R has this leg on it which extends beneath the baseline, leading your eye down to the icon itself. But to me, the icon just feels a bit huge and like it would be more comfortable above the text. If we take a look at their website, we can see they have a landscape version of the logo which looked absolutely fine. The retroness of the logo is heavily overpowered by the rest of the website. The fact that looks modern really helps things along. Keeping the website looking modern and fresh is a good way of getting around my earlier concerns of the logo looking old and outdated. I always think that a good way to see what a company is trying to focus on is by looking at the very first thing you see when visiting their website. When compared to Adidas and Nike, you can see that Reebok seems to be more focused on sports than the general lifestyle that the other two show. Also, on a side note, I'm not sure what kind of lifestyle Adidas are trying to promote here, but I really think she should be wearing a helmet and some knee pads whilst riding that bike. Anyway, enough about that. Today I'm going to be redesigning the Reebok logo, and I'm going to be thinking about the logos they've had up until now, the history of the company, and also the current state of their competitors. So let's get into drawing out some ideas. So while sketching, I came up with quite a few different ideas that I thought could capture the essence of the brand in a different way to their current retro style logo. I read that the original name Reebok was developed from an animal called a grey Reebok, but with spelt with an H, R-H-E-B-O-K, and this made me think maybe I could somehow incorporate some symbol of this into the logo. I then saw this Reebok Classic logo and noticed that the shapes used to build that looked like they could be developed into something that symbolised this animal quite nicely. Although they are now USA owned, another idea I had was to use a Union Jack to show the English roots of the company. This also turned into an idea of using both a USA and a UK flag to illustrate the change over time and development of the company. Some more ideas were born from the shapes of the letters. Writing the company name out in lowercase and uppercase helped me come up with ideas of text adaptations I might be able to do once we're in Illustrator. I quite like the idea of a more abstract logo, as I think that anything too sports literal will feel very cheesy and basic when it's on the side of a shoe or maybe on a shirt. As some of the logo ideas were going to be taking their existing logo or their existing wordmark, I didn't spend too long at the sketching stage. I got all my ideas out, but I had a few more in my head that I couldn't draw out very well, and I thought it would be quicker to develop in Illustrator, so you'll see that in a minute. So yeah, let's move into Illustrator now. If you are enjoying this video, please don't forget to press like, it really helps the channel out. Thanks. So for this week's option 1, I wanted to focus on the fact that even though Reebok haven't been using this icon for a few years, it's still what the general public remember as the Reebok logo. Because of its global recognition, I thought it would be a good idea to keep this. My plan was to make some adjustments to get rid of them really thin and spiky line endings, so I decided to start adding some rounded corners, which instantly gave it a more solid feel, but as the corners were all at different angles, I had to go through adjusting them individually by eye to make sure it looked balanced and clean. Next up, I needed to find a font that would sit well alongside this icon. I found this font called Ohms, or basically it's spelled O-M-N-E-S, and chose a weight that looked visually balanced when next to the logo. I also tried it in all caps, but I preferred the lowercase in this instance. Although you'd think that the capital letters are bigger, because they are like when you type it out normally, when aligned to the top and the bottom of the icon, the lowercase text actually seemed to have more presence.
2.
So the concept for option 2 was to find a nice way to show both the UK and USA flag within the logo to show the full history and the future of the company. I started by developing the idea I had already drawn out with the word Reebok sandwiched in between the two flags, but this looked pretty poor, so I decided to rethink the idea. I then thought that maybe my problem was that I was creating something incredibly generic, as I was using a font that could be described as quite standard, and two flags which are obviously positioned without any original development from me. So with that in mind, I thought that I would grab the current Reebok logo text and make some adjustments to that to make it feel a little bit more bespoke and fit nicely within my flag tabs. This produced some interesting results. I wasn't sure how the rounded ends were going to work, but I liked how it turned out more than I thought I would. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments.
3.
For my third option, I wanted to take the letters R and B, as they are the first letter of each syllable in the name Reebok, and then I wanted to develop some sort of icon to show these. I like my geometric style logos, so I fleshed out this idea using circles and rectangles with rounded corners, of course all using Snap to Grid to make sure all the lines were perfectly spaced, and I just balance it out so that my stroke thicknesses are I do it in 10-point increments just to match up with the actual grid itself. The end product is just so simple that I feel like it must have been done before, but if it has, I've never seen it, but I'm fully expecting some of the comments to say option 3 looks like so-and-so company. So yeah, if you think this looks like something else, please let me know. The font I chose for this option is called Cera, which is C-E-R-A, and it's a nice minimal style font that still looks strong and timeless. I think the style of this font perfectly fits this type of icon. Quite often when I create an icon like this is kind of my go-to font, which I know you shouldn't really do, but it just seems to fit so nicely.
4.
So for option 4, I wanted to try adding a little arrow onto the end of the K on the end of Reebok as a way of adding some movement and a positive feel to the simple word mark. I tried to take duplicates of the kicks on the K and rework it into an arrow, but it's given me some problems with the angles and stuff like that, and it was just looking kind of ugly, so I needed a different plan. I had a look in the glyphs palette to see if there was anything that I could steal and use as an arrow instead of building one from scratch. Sure enough, there were some arrows that matched the font width perfectly, so this saved me a lot of time and hassle. After some more development time, the idea hasn't worked out exactly as I had envisioned, however there is still something likeable about it, so I'm wondering how it will perform in the poll.
5.
So for option 5, I was playing around with lots more abstract shapes to see if anything stood out as something that could really work for the Reebok brand. Stop saying Reebok, Sam. There were quite a few ideas that I thought could work, but the one that caught my attention the most was this idea where we take the negative space shape that appears when I rotated a capital R around a central point. This kind of looks like a propeller and might be more appropriate for a fan or a pump company, but there was just something nice about how it was developed, so I decided to just proceed with it. I used some retro style text, which is different to their current logo, but has that same vintage feel to it, which I feel is a good nod to their long history. Once I had this next to my icon, I decided to recreate the icon shape by using simpler forms to clean it up whilst retaining that core concept still. Okay then, Rebrand gang, just before I show you them final options, I just wanted to remind you to press the little button up here and then vote for your favourite in the poll, and then head straight down to the comments below and let me know what you would do differently if you was doing this rebrand. Please remember to press like if you like the video and press subscribe if you want to see a video like this every single week, and remember to put that little notification bell on, otherwise basically you just don't see the videos for some reason. Even if you're subscribed, it just doesn't pop up in your feed. So yeah, put the little bell on. Okay then, Rebrand gang, let's see them final options.